Hey, great Tuesday evening. It is uh, interesting. It's interesting to say great evening when it's actually 4 o'clock in the morning. But it's just different. One of the things I don't know if I told you, Frankie, but one of the things that I did yesterday, I set up the start of the show for yesterday, and I think what happens is that even though I set up for the time over there and it started over there, it starts off for the time over here. So I think a lot less people got the notification that we were starting the show last night.
Yeah, I noticed that. I think it said like at 2 p.m. or something, but it was a good show yesterday. It was, it was. At first, I thought, oh man, are we gonna make it? Are we gonna make it to an hour? But it was a good crowd, good audience. It was a good show. Even though the circumstances and the locations, it turned out to be a great show.
It was a good show, and yeah, let me say one of the things that I think that I make mention to Frankie, to Maggie, and even to Sam. I don't even know where Sam's at, but is that for in Brownsville, there's like it's always something that's happening, especially with local politics. It's a gift that keeps on giving. It's Christmas, always, and it's just it never stops, and that's unfortunate. I think one of the things that I think we've made mention of regularly is that it'd be so awesome, sometimes maybe not to have anything to talk about, but there's always something going on. It's never a dull day in Brownsville, Texas.
I always like the day before the show that Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So on on Sundays, Tuesday and Thursday, I'm always like, what the heck am I gonna talk about? Like I have no clue what I'm gonna talk about. But it's like how you said, there's always something going on. These politicians make it too easy for us. They're great at mismanaging their positions, and unfortunately, and we keep on repeating this, but in the city of Brownsville, in our local area, we don't have investigative journalism true to its form. These politicians, they control the medias, all those platforms, and they usually give them softball questions. So it's important for people, for platforms such as these to be consistent, and be out there at the forefront, especially dealing with issues that affect our community.
Well, one of the things that we saw recently, and
Mm.
one thing that we saw recently, and I really tripped out on, was it's something that we already know this. We already know this to be true, but it seems like every other day, like the local media, the Brownsville Herald, nos dan más la razón. And I'll give you an example of a recent one. You know, Brownsville Herald goes out there and posts, oh, best teacher association is going to go out there and have a forum, and I'm going like, oh, that's not true, but they make it sound like they're going to have a forum and that they're going to have all the candidates in that race or in those races come out and give their point of view in regards to what's going on. So it's kind of a trippy, and you go like, ah, no, pues we're gonna have best out there, and then all of a sudden you find out that they already endorsed their candidates. They Leon El Dedazo, they chose which candidates they were going to have, and you go like, ah, but de qué va a ser? And surely enough, then they go back and then they go and they took pictures at that place at the forum at their meet and greet, and then they go like, oh well, the candidates were discussing the issues that were most important for the community. And we're like, well, what happened to the other candidates? Why didn't you give individuals an opportunity? You know, enough opportunity out there to to give their platform and let people have their choice. So it's kind of a trippy deal. Did you see that on the Herald, Carlos?
Yes, unfortunately I did, but you know how the Herald is. Herald only promotes whatever they get paid to promote. So, I mean, what can we do?
Unfortunately, not. But it just gives weight to the fact that the Bronco Herald's a piece of trash. And what Frankie mentions is so true. That's why these platforms, Frankie's show, this show, and I think that those are the only ones that are still out there, as they are important for the community, because you'll get the real story, not the one that they want you to believe. What's up, Erasmo and Frankie? Erasmo, are you ever coming back? Oh, yes. I thought they were asking Frankie. Is Frankie always coming back? You're coming back because Frankie's always out and about as well. But yeah, I'll be back. I was telling Frankie earlier. Today's my last day in Egypt, and I'm ready to go back. I'm done. I have done my little trip, and I'm ready to go back. I'm tired out. I did a lot of walking. Yesterday we went to the Valley of the Kings, and let me tell you, it's amazing. It's one thing to look at things online, through pictures and stuff. And there's one thing to experience it. It's just amazing. So it's one of the things that I think I made mention a long time ago when I went to Machu Picchu is they would tell you, hey, you're going to feel the energy and all this other stuff, and you go like, no, hombre, no es cierto. It's a bunch of bull. And sure enough, in Machu Picchu, you feel some energy. You go out here and you feel energy everywhere in this land. It's just amazing. But I'm ready to go back home. I'm ready to go back to Brownsville, believe it or not. Last night's show was awesome. Thank you, Islam. I had a great time, despite the fact that it probably didn't reach as many people as it needed to. Carlos, I don't know if you saw it last night, but we were mentioning in regards to the tax increase. Oh, BISD voted 5-2 to raise taxes on the community. What's your take on it?
Well, that's one of the reasons I came on. And, I haven't been on your show in a while because I've been really pushing this campaign. We really need to win, and thank you for the invitation, Frankie. And that I thought it was just going to be Frankie and I, but I'm glad you're on. The thing here is that I'm not kidding. There is so many people that have reached out not only to me but to the other candidates that are running as well to see what we're going to do about it when we win. And I said, first and foremost, we got to make sure that we get the superintendent back online because what he did, he's going to destroy a lot of families. I mean, there's a lot of people. If you look at the tax sales, they're increasing every day. And now with the tax increase for BIZ, along with the last 2 years of COVID, and now the city increasing our taxes and taking a lot of money and funneling it downtown, there's a lot more people that are going to be susceptible to these, bankruptcies. Like Eddie was saying, BIZ is going to be bankrupt, and when there's bankrupt, there's people without jobs and people without homes and people that are not going to be able to make it. It came straight from the president's mouth of the school district. What does that tell our current, employees of the school district, the parents? Is BISD in that much of a hurt? If we keep these incumbents, yes, it is. It's specifically stated in their proposal to the way they were trying to sell it to the taxpayers was if they don't vote yes, there is going to be a huge deficit within BISD. That is plain and simple on their PowerPoint. They put that out there. The only two people that stood up for us, the taxpayers, are the people that are not going to be able to see, the payment for the taxes or for the light bill or for the medication, whatever it is that we're doing. It was Minerva Peña and Jessica Gonzalez. Those are the only two people that stood up and said no. And if you notice, when Minerva Peña was trying to explain it in layman's terms, the the main guy they had there, I guess they brought from Edinburgh. The I guess it's the guy who
The
manages
CEO?
the budget, the CEO, right? Or
Yeah.
actually, I guess that's what he calls himself. I'm not even sure what he calls him. He was just trying to make sure that Minerva Peña sounded like an idiot because she was actually trying to make sure that I'm sure the concerns that were brought up to her were addressed. And he's like, well, no, that's not the way it is. I said, no, that's exactly what's going to happen. They need to explain it in layman's terms on what this tax increase is going to be, because it's not, people are not going to save money because the taxes went up. I don't know how Eddie is going to explain himself when he wants to run for, the tax assessor collector against Tony Saguirre in the future, because that's what he keeps telling everybody. How he can explain a tax increase is it's good for the community.
Well, no tax increase is ever good for the community uh, at any time. Mucho menos right now that the community is going through a horrible, horrible assault from all sides. I mean, the community is getting hit from everywhere, and I think that's actually Maggie now. The community is actually being hit, but I still want to go to sleep too. But the community is getting hit at todos lados. One of the things that we had mentioned, I don't know if y'all got to see it this today. I want to say this morning, but because I saw it this afternoon. One of the things that I saw today was how Sheriff Eric Garza comes out and responds to Eddie Treviño's press conference in regards to his response to Eric Garza's statement. And you're going like, and I was like, we were saying, it's never a dull day in Brownsville, Texas, man. It's the gift that keeps on giving in regards to these types of shows. But I mean, they're out at all full blast war. Frankie, did you see the video?
Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing, and you would think that throughout this time, they would try and come to terms, come to a some sort of agreement. But the county commissioners, what they have failed to do is, put their egos aside and really focus on what's best for Cameron County. As much as they say that, they're in it for the people, for the community, we see the total opposite. And one of the main things that I got from Sheriff Garza's press conference today was, that the community ultimately is the one that is in danger, by not having the proper resources, by not having the proper manpower. What we're doing is we're exhausting the few manpower that we have, making them work longer hours. They get tired. Maybe they're not able to perform their duties to the best of their ability. And what happens is that, we lose the best qualified individuals because we don't have, proper pay, and everybody gives the sheriff a lot of slack for that. But again, the ones who implement this, the ones who give raises, the one that promotes these positions is the Cameron County Sheriff's Department. I'm sorry, the Cameron County Commissioner's Court. And what we have seen is that this administration and previous administrations, they have not been giving back the money from the federal inmates. And again, whenever we have money, we all seem to blow it, and we've been seeing that at the city, at BISD with the COVID funds, and now at Cameron County. They're quick to blame Sheriff Garza for them losing the $1 or $2 million. But what about previous years? Aren't you supposed to be putting money away for a rainy day? It's all mismanagement, Carlos, and it's unfortunate that people at these positions, they make it political, and it's never them. It's never their fault. No one seems to take ownership, unfortunately.
Uh, Carlos Elizondo only looks like Joe Coy. Do y'all know who Joe Coy is?
I have no clue. I watch TV.
No, Frankie? Oh my God, he's an amazing comedian, Joe Coy. Very, 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 very funny. Actually, he's got a special out right now on Netflix, which is really, really good. Very, very funny. But yeah, at the end of the day, Frankie, safety is the key word in everything that I saw today with Eric Garza. Look, they're putting the safety of the community in danger, and it's it's reminiscent of everything that is going on. It's what we were talking about last night, Carlos. It's reminiscent of everything that has been going on in this community. How every aspect of safety for the community has deteriorated throughout the community. One of the things that I had mentioned, Carlos, I don't know if you've had a chance to go downtown, but there's thousands of individuals out there that are roaming downtown area, and these individuals are coming across. Uh, they're asking for asylum. A lot of them, we already know. We talked to Carlos Tawada the other day, and he made mention it's a very small percentage of these individuals that actually, qualify for asylum. But in the meantime, they're here. And what's happening is what someone else posted on my page in regards to the Osaman House, which I have a lot of love for the Osaman House, but I don't like that it's so close to a lot of these communities, because what's happened is a lot of the individuals that live in that area are starting to see these people from that house come into the community, walking around begging for money. And a lot of them, and this happened to us, Frankie, when we were living up at El Valle, a lot of us experienced a lot of crime from these individuals. They came into our house at least three different times, three different times. So with all these individuals here that are here, there is no economic development. There are no good paying jobs. Are we about to see a rise in increase in crime throughout the city? And we're already Eric Garcia's already said that we're understaffed, that we're putting the community in danger. But this new factor also adds on to it. The same thing we received word, Carlos, and this is one of the reasons where your expertise can come in. Was our fire department? Our fire department also is going to start to hurt not only themselves but hurt the community by lowering the number of personnel out there, Carlos.
And that's happening even with police officers in the city. But yes, just today alone, effective immediately, I think there's about 8 or 12 firefighters, senior firefighters, that have retired. So you notice where I think you've even promoted the list that they're trying to hire some people, to get into the fire department. But you're talking about 2 years. If they're not paramedics, they have to go through 2 years of school to become a paramedic, almost 6 to 8 months worth of fire school. So you're not going to see anybody coming in within the next 2 or 3 years unless they open it, which they are always frowning on, opening it to just civilians, because they want to make sure that you have a paramedic certification or a firefighter, so that way you can jump just straight in. If you do not, this is where I was just talking about, you have to train them. It's going to take them between 1 to 2 years to get them full fledged and back on the streets by themselves to be able to cover those holes. But this is something that has been going on since before I even started, and they didn't listen. So that's why when I was there, we started the paramedic school in house. But the new fire chief is just so backwards, because whether he's, I don't know. I hate to use this term, but obese and doesn't and is just slow. He doesn't like to do anything. He is not someone that's going to jump into a fire and fight it himself, just like I would do. I would go in there and help out. This guy doesn't help out. He's quarterbacking from behind a desk. And now what he's done is he's pushed all these good people out. They're retiring, just like at the school district. They're because they are tired of the inconsistency and the disrespect. This is huge. The disrespect that the fire chief has on the firefighters. They're burdening them up with more work, not more pay, but yet a lot more stress. And so eventually these individuals, yeah, the money's good when you're working overtime, but you can only work so much overtime eventually till you hit the wall. That's what's happened now. Teachers are seeing the same thing. Teachers are they gave them a $4,000 raise, which now they're asking the taxpayers to foot the bill because they put themselves in a hole. So they burned the whole community because of this, but yet they're not hiring new teachers. They're giving these teachers added work. They're either
Exactly.
making them choose between a dean or an assistant principal at a school. Yet, some schools have 2,000 kids, the other schools have four. Have more power, more manpower at those schools that they do where they're most needed. But because of Rene Gutierrez and his, skirts, I would say, he protects some of these individuals and keeps them with the added help, with the less workload. And so your teachers have hit the wall. Yeah, they got a $4,000 raise, but most of them say, you know what, it's not worth it. Um, People are having heart attacks. People are anxiety, stress. They've just hit the wall, and now you burden them with taxes. So now most of these teachers help not only themselves, but help someone else, their family members, their mothers, their grandfather, grandmothers, whatever it is with their household. But now their taxes are going to go even higher. And you're not supplementing them with anything else, and you're showing them less respect. So here with the fire department, we got to see is that less manpower means the call volume is not going to go down because now you have 10, 20,000 illegal aliens, sleeping at the parking garage downtown. So not only do they come in with health issues, but the health issues and the emergencies and non-emergencies of the city of Brownsville have not gone down. So what's happening now is the fire chief, Jared Sheldon, is imposing, a limit on these individuals to go out there and help. So let's say you call it, Asmo, you're pretty old, right?
Uh, 2, 3.
And let's say you have an issue, right? And
Other
you're one of the 15 callers that's in line to be called for an ambulance. Well, they start looking at who is more valuable to that first caller, and they will dispatch you on priority, or they triage the dispatching. So your emergency might not be greater than the
higher the
emergency
list.
of someone else. So you're going to start seeing that happen a lot. It's already happening. It's not you're going to start. It's already happening. And they're burning these firefighters and these paramedics to go to calls. Now what they've done is they push these people who don't want to go to EMS calls because they're not trained or they haven't been doing it a long time. They're forcing them to go out there and sit by someone's side and not know what they're doing. So people are retiring because they don't want to be there next to someone who's having a heart attack and they don't know what to do, or they don't have the equipment to do it.
But it's systematic, Frankie, across the line, throughout the whole city. It's the same thing that you see. Carlos mentioned the firefighters, the police. It's happening at the police. It's happening at the BISD. What happens is these governmental bodies, they create the mess, then they may want you to fix the mess, and while they're supposedly fixing the mess, then they place everyone's life in peril, life in danger. Which, I mean, this is one of the reasons why we've lost so many teachers. A lot of local law enforcement don't want to come back, and now a lot of firefighters don't want to come back because their workload has increased while their salaries have been raised very, very, very minimally. I mean, Frankie, I know that you've talked to some teachers. Ya están hasta aquí because
Mhm.
even though they got those $4,000 or $3,000 or whatever amount of money that they got, de que sirve when you can't even enjoy it. When you're a lot of people, well, some people we've actually are dying even in the classrooms, dying in the classrooms. We had a teacher that was dead for a while, and the kids thought he was asleep. The students thought that the teacher was asleep. It's a systematic stress that a lot of folk opt to not have to deal with and just decide not to go. But Frankie, have you seen this throughout the whole community?
Let me just
Oh,
piggyback on that, Erasmo, uh, because of the systematic approach of let's fix it when it happens instead of thinking in the future of what the needs are going to be. Of course, people know that you're always going to need educators, healthcare givers, and police officers, right, and firefighters. When we started, BIZ started the fire academy within the BISD grounds. Some of those individuals went straight into the workforce as at the fire department, which is Brownsville Fire Department, without the training because they were already trained as firefighters. They were already trained as EMTs. That gave them zero amount of training, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, depending on how green they are, to be able to start and working on their own. What this current BISD board did was they killed the program. So what they did is they're not now you have firefighters that were decimated kids, BISD kids, because the majority of the board that's there now voted to kill the fire program, and now they're working on trying to kill the EMT program as well. Hence the need for the city. We are supposed to be a sister, right, or brother, depending on how you want to look at it, to be able to facilitate some of these kids going out into the workforce immediately starting work. Well, because of the current board that we have that increased the BIZ taxes because they don't know what else to do, they've killed some of these programs, and they've hurt not only the community but the kids that were in those programs already. And so you see they're working backwards now because of the leaders that we have there. And I can't just blame Rene Gutierrez because Rene Gutierrez has direction from the current board, which is the majority of the board, which also voted to increase taxes. So you look, it's a big mess. How are they going to fix it? They don't even know. They have no solutions other than give me 4 years. In 4 years, I'll give you a solution. We've given you 4 years, in some cases 2 years, and they've messed it up.
Hey,
Yeah,
Carlos, that's a great point, and it kind of bridges, what we were talking about regarding, we in the city of Brownsville, there is a lack of resources, ambulances, to cover, 180,000 population here for the city. Now, what's your opinion? This current administration at BISD, them terminating this program, is that a detriment to the city moving forward? Is this program does this program benefit, or would it benefit the city overall?
Most
well,
definitely.
before Carlos go, before you ask Carlos,
Mhm, go ahead.
my take is their reasoning. This is what I find so stupid in regards to the ending that program. The reasoning behind them ending the program, they said, well, we're only graduating 20 people, so it's not worth it. And I'm going like, what do you mean it's not worth it? Let's say we're actually only graduating 20 people every 2 years. If we're graduating 20 people every 2 years, you're talking about 20, 40 new personnel that can go into that job immediately instead of having zero and they're not paying, Carlos.
Correct. Not only that, some of the students that came out of these programs, the EMT and the fire program, are now doctors, are now full-fledged professional firefighters within the city of Brownsville and in Harlingen and in McAllen and in South Padre Island. So we just not only helped the city of Brownsville, we've helped all the other communities. Some of these people have taken it even further. They become nurses, LVNs. They become other things other than just firefighters. And what happens is that now what you've done is you burdened the whole city of Brownsville because they could have had somewhere a pool to pick from where these kids were already being trained into the field that is in greatest need right now, which is your fire service. They are just retiring. I've never seen so many people retire from the fire service in the last 25 years. You would have one, maybe two, but not 10, 11, 12 of your most senior people leaving because they just can't take it. This is what's happening at VSD. You're getting the best teachers leaving because they cannot stand the pressure of the current administration, the superintendent, the both deputy chiefs or whatever they call themselves, and the majority of the board. They have no respect for these teachers.
No, and I don't know if you've noticed, Carlos. I'm sure you have.
And I
But
should say employees, not teachers, employees, staff.
one of the things that has happened is they the current board, they're struggling to keep control of their majority. And what they're doing is, I don't know if you've seen this, but they're going out there and they're parading for these people every chance that they get. I mean, Denise Garza gets taken by the superintendent everywhere. When you hardly ever saw Denise Garza anywhere. And then you got, Christy Roca-Tipton and little Eddie out there, out there cheering on Philip Cowan in his different events, and people could say, well, it's just a picture. I think it's more than just a picture. It's an outright, this is the guy, El Dedazo, this is the guy that we want out there, or in Denise's case, this is the lady that we want back on the board to continue to do what we do. And I don't know if you saw the picture with little Eddie and Christy out there supporting and endorsing Philip Cowan.
I didn't, I've been real busy trying to stay away from that kind of you know, uh, s- I guess vibe.
Paul.
But I gotta tell you one thing. The worst thing about it is that we need to cut and we need to get rid of the same school or university, whatever you want to call it, teachings that Sylvia Atkinson brought to the district. This is what these people continue to push. If you look at whatever they did, if you go back at everything that Sylvia Atkinson got caught with, and you go back and just go back, because I've done the research, you go back to every time that there was a vote for her to get the computers, for her to get the tablets, the dealings with TSC, with the De La Garza, the dealings with the Rio Hondo, the movie. If you look at all those, just go back and look at all those that I just mentioned, and look how many votes were given by Drew, by Prissy, by who else was there?
Minerva.
Philip Cowan. You go look at that, and you will see that these people were all part. They're not in prison. Sylvia Atkinson is, but they were all part of the Sylvia Atkinson University or a school of crime to be able to facilitate our taxpayer monies, the monies that should have gone to the teachers right now. There's no need for us to go into a raise. All those votes were a yes vote for Sylvia Atkinson to steal this money. She is in prison. The stuff that went against me was political, and the people who went against me are in prison right now. That's what I have to say about that. If you go back and see that, that needs to stop. This is the reason that I vote, and I'm gonna vote and make sure that all incumbents are out. We need to stop the Sylvia Atkinson School of Crime. That is it. It's over, because what's happening is now the burden is falling on the taxpayers, and eventually, just like President Little Eddie Garcia said, it's going to be, instead of BISD, it's going to be bankrupt ISD. That is, I should have been there. I would have slapped them in the face for saying something so stupid. I said that is just disrespectful for the teacher. You're telling me that over 7,000 employees of the school district are going to lose their job because he doesn't know how to manage? He doesn't know how to be able to control his majority and say no to the tax increase?
It's systematic of what's happening throughout the city. There's just a big disregard in regards to the suffering that is actually going on in the community, and it's the same verbiage that is used by individuals that have the opportunity to do something to affect the change that is needed. I mean, they're the same words we've heard from Trey Mendez and everyone out there on this Brownsville City Commission that are supposed to be protecting the community, and yet they continue to let PUB run amok and decimate everyone out there. I mean, Frankie. I mean, I don't know if you've started to see them, Frankie, but I've started to see a lot of people send in their disconnection notice. What's going to happen in this community is that if tens of thousands of individuals out there get their power cut off because they don't have the resources to pay for it.
Yeah, and this is, these are real issues that our community is dealing with. And I had a show that said, todos nos están jodiendo. We're getting it from the landlords, high rent. We're getting it from PUB. And now, Carlos, we're getting it from BISD. Do these people on these boards, are they out of touch with reality? Aren't they in tune with what is going on? How individuals who lived on fixed income aren't just making it. And I know everyone listening to this is probably saying, otra vez. But why don't we do something about it? It's time for us to come together and say no incumbents. It's sad to see how BISD, guys, is crumbling. One of the biggest districts south of San Antonio, it's a mess. We can't account for the $100+ million from the COVID
Extra
funds, the ESSER funds from the federal government. And now, Carlos, because of that mismanagement, what do they go to? Well, now we got to raise taxes. What do you mean you got to raise taxes? What did you do with the money? And again, it just goes to show you how people on every board we can go to, from the city to the county, PUB, and now BISD. Carlos, what has this board done for our community? Nothing but
Well,
lately. That's all we have.
well, I'm going to tell you right now. Just go look at the tax sale properties in there's over 59 properties being auctioned because people cannot afford their taxes. That's now. They just raised the taxes
59.
yesterday. So 59 families are going to lose their home to the highest bidder because they cannot afford the taxes right now. What is this going to be a month from now, 2 months from now? What is this going to be if you let the incumbents come back 4 years from now?
Well, one of the things that we mentioned, Carlos, is unfortunately for us, you could go and pinpoint how everything is like full circle, because now that the disconnection notices are coming out, now that people can't pay their mortgage and stuff, now that 59 homes are up for auction, the same politicos are the ones that have first dibs on all those homes. Someone asked me the other day, said, Erasmo, do you think that this is all part of a master plan to completely get rid of most individuals in the city of Brownsville and to, finally break their back in regards to the economics? Because, again, people aren't able to pay their light, aren't able to pay their bills, aren't able to pay their kids' schooling. Then all of a sudden they can't pay their mortgage, they lose their home, and the same politicos that screwed everybody over with the tax base and everything, then they go back and say, well, I want this house, this property, this property, this property, this property, and they buy the best ones. And then those 59, Carlos, almost going to guarantee you that those are ya las obras de las que quedan para los demás que are barely trying to get into that little market, that type of deal. So is this part of a great master? I mean, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but man, it sure damn looks like it. Like they're all trying to do
Well,
the
well,
gentrification
well,
on us.
well, look at the way how many schools have closed down within the last 4 years. The last 4 years, how many schools have closed down? Four.
Well, there's a threat there's three down, and there's actually two more that are on the chopping block.
What happens when you take the school out of that neighborhood? New families stop moving into those neighborhoods. Now I've heard that they want to close down Skinner.
Skinner.
Can you imagine what it's going to do to those employees of that school? The families that still live around there, the families that still have children in that neighborhood. This is your current school board, guys. There's talks about closing down Skinner. You think those teachers know that? I hope it's just hearsay. You think the family members of that neighborhood know that their school is going to close? Do you think those other schools that knew that, or those neighbors knew that those schools were going to close down? They probably did, maybe 1 or 2 days before, when they told them, "Hey, your kids are going to move now to another school. Start working on it." So what happens? They start killing those neighborhoods. You're not going to have people moving into those neighborhoods anymore that had children because there's no school around.
No,
That's a,
and with no schools in your neighborhood, guys, then everything starts to go to crap. Then you got an increase in crime even in those areas, and individuals slowly, I mean, they've already raised the appraised value of your property anyway. Doesn't much make matter to them if they want to continue to decimate community. And I feel for those people over there in west part of Brownsville. It's like they never get a break. West Brownsville, if they lose Skinner out there, I mean, where where are all the other politicians that are out there fighting for the community? One of the things that I think Frankie mentioned on his show is that we don't have anyone out there that is an elected official screaming at the top of their lungs against PUB, against the tax increase. No one is coming out there publicly. The only one that's actually being public about it is, and again, hats off to Sheriff Eric Garza. He's the only one that is out there screaming and using his platform to bring attention to the decimation of our community and to the county. How these individuals that are in office, as they are hurting, as they're not only the weakest amongst us, but everyone that lives in the county. So my question, which was Frankie's questions, which I stole from Frankie, is where are all the other elected officials? Because ultimately, if BISD decides to close Skinner, well, and you ask your city commissioners, they go like, well, that's not my department. That's BISD. We have no say or control of it. Yeah, but why weren't you vocal? Why weren't those individuals that are representing that community out there up in arms because their community that voted them in is out there as they're being heard?
And that's the unfortunate part. uh and we see that at the district. Nobody wants to say just about anything. Nobody wants to take a stance. Could it be because they don't want to tarnish a certain political party, or in my opinion, guys, I think they just don't want dirt to be thrown back at them. But at the end of the day, each elected official on TSC, on Cameron County, on City of Brownsville, BISD, ultimately they take an oath, Carlos. They take an oath to to make the city, make their entity, make the community thrive, and be there whenever the community needs them the most. And what better time than right now? And it seems as if we are not going to be receiving any sort of relief. San Antonio just recently passed a $30 million grant in which they're going to be helping or subsidizing the rent. It's just unfortunate where individuals on these boards, they have so much weight. By them taking a stand, by them being vocal about these issues, uh, they would get at least a lot more traction than we do, because whenever we come out here and we scream at the top of our lungs, they say, we're crazy, and nobody pays attention to you, and you just don't know what you're talking about. So it's unfortunate that those that are entrusted by the community to make Brownsville a better place, they're nowhere to be found.
Well, the other day, I posted the other day that the county had decimated that program. And again, when Eddie Trevino and Joey Lopez and Gus Reese, when they come out and they say, "Hey, we fixed it. We fixed the $5 to $7 million deficit," and then we have someone who's actually in the know comes out and says, Carlos Cascos comes out and says, they just moved the numbers around. That's all they did. And then you start to see a lot of the social programs out there that were helping the community being gutted to the point that they're not going to be there for the community. One of the programs that is going to get killed, has already been killed, is the rental and utility assistance program that the Cameron County was offering. It's no more, guys. It's not happening. And one of the first responses that a lot of folks go out there and say, like, pues como quiera, nomás son handouts. Let me tell you, a lot of people in this community, they're desperate for some type of help, and they're not getting it from any entity out there. So it's these programs, Carlos, that, like we were mentioning that tech program for the firefighters, the EMT one. It's those programs that may appear to be insignificant to a community, but so desperately needed, especially in times like these.
Yeah, it is. Especially, I was looking at BISD has a video on some of these, well, actually on the fire program, and you had the majority of them were girls.
Yes.
There were girls. There were firefighters. They were being pinned as firefighters because they had fulfilled all the requirements of the state of Texas to be eligible to go take the exam and become firefighters or firefighter women, right? Um, and yet Eddie saw it, I guess, as a feather in his cap to destroy, which is usually, we have firefighters and police officers that always clash, but since Eddie was a police officer, I think he felt that he had to destroy the program because it's his rival, and when he did that, he destroyed a lot of kids' futures, and not only the kids' futures, but the parents, you know, love for their kids to finally say, what, mom, dad, I want to become a firefighter, and these were girls. I want to become firefighter. Some of these girls were taken out of the program and told me, what? There's no more program. What do you mean? I just signed up for it. There's no more program. The current board, Eddie Garcia, little Eddie Garcia, the police officer, retired. I should say retired because I'll be disrespecting a lot of police officers. The retired police officer decided to kill it. And
Hey,
he went on in public, on the record, and said that that's what he was going to do.
hey, Carlos, and if you could give us a little bit of insight, is was this program like an associate's degree where once they got out of high school they were ready to start on the job, or did this give them a year advance where they would only have to complete the 1 year program instead of two? Is this something that they would be able to obtain a position, a job in the workforce?
So they would become under the rule they would be eligible to test to become professional firefighters. That means that they would come out of BISD ready to go into a fire department. If it's a civil service fire department, of course they would have to take the test. But because they were certified firefighters, they would get, I think it's 5 or 10 points added to their raw score, you know, to be able to rank. So most of these individuals already had that advantage because they had gone through the training to be able to become firefighters. So out of the last test that the city of Brownsville or the city of Brownsville Fire Department had, four of them were BISD cadets, full-fledged firefighters, walked right in there because they were that far ahead. They knew the material, they were already trained, they had the knowledge, they had the skill, and they went straight into the workforce, getting, of course, your first year you don't make that much, you make 27,000 plus benefits, but that's how much more they would make instead of with no skills, no training, no education. They would have to go and fight 200 or 300 people on the test and then go take the training not knowing if they were going to pass or not. So yeah, they were that far ahead, and if they didn't want to, they can go into a nursing program. They can do the
Yeah,
LVN or RN. They can go to
because
many other things.
yeah, because they have the basics
Yes.
in regards to catapulting them into any other field that actually involves a lot of caring for our community. I know a lot of these individuals that went into the provider program. They went into working in different aspects, different fields out there. So it's amazing, and it's very very interesting how none of the decisions that are being made right now by the county, the city, BISD, how they make sense in any way, shape, or form. But more than make sense, let's say that there's something other that we're not seeing. Why is there such a lack of information, a lack of education? And I seem to think that it has to do with that these individuals, they think that they don't have to come out and answer to the community. And again, they think that because they are confident, or they sit on not only on their laurels, but they sit on their bed of of individuals that are already going to come out and vote for them. That is why it's so important, guys, is that to shake up the system. And a lot of people have been mentioning. I think Ben mentioned that we need a purge. We desperately need a purge. We need something different. It's not a Democrat thing. It's not a Republican thing. It's this new people thing. Yeah, get rid of all these individuals that are well known to be hurting the community. It's time at all levels, Frankie. Every single level, everywhere. Donde pongas mano, it seems that we're getting screwed every which way.
Yeah, not only
Hey,
that, I'm glad that you said that, but if you look at it, if you ask, the educators, there's not enough. There's there's a lot of substitutes, teaching these high skilled programs or these classes because there's no educators that want to come in and work for us anymore. We've disrespected, the school district has disrespected one of the most important careers, your educator. People are just leaving the school district. They're like, I'm gone. This is not where I'm going to be at anymore. And then you have program after program after program being shoved down these educators' throats. Every year they're buying a new program and they're telling these people that they need to use it. That needs to stop.
what
I
what
love
bothers
that you.
what bothers
Sorry.
me, guys, is that you know as we all know, we see everything be going up in smoke. It seems there is no job opportunity, there is no resources for our local youth, and you would think that BISD, a board that promotes education and wants to prepare these young individuals into the real world, they would, give them the proper tools and resources needed. And instead of giving them a leg up, what do? They take away this program. And this program, Carlos, is not like, it's not like it's not like a secretary job. It's not like, it's not like if they'll be working in the office. No, they're in the real world. They got to respond to fires. They got to respond to individuals who are, on the brink of death. They have this is the real world life, and I get images of things in the ER. Well, our paramedics, Carlos, are the ones that have to deal with this. And
Hmm.
even though there were 20 or 30 graduates, there is profound impact on not having enough of these. And the city of Brownsville is our perfect example. Uh, it's sad whenever those on the board they hurt us more than they benefit the community.
That's
Well,
true.
David goes out there and puts a millionaire mayor, millionaire judge, a millionaire superintendent, and a broke community. That's pretty much the way it is. Because and again, Carlos, I don't know if you saw, but Mayor Mendez is so arrogant. He goes out there and posts his electricity bill and goes, "Here's my electricity bill. I'm hurting like you're hurting." Carlos, do you think that the mayor is hurting like we're hurting?
Absolutely not. I I have a small business, and I didn't qualify for JBIC money. If I did, maybe I could afford $2,000 or $3,000 light bills, but I didn't. I have to work every day to be able to pay for that. And some people who don't have the job now have to figure out how they're going to do it. Now your PUB rates are out of this world, and I'm not throwing anything at SpaceX, right? Out of this world. Your taxes are going to be out of this world. Your pay has not gone up.
Equate.
Inflation is through the roof. I mean, everything except the amount of money that we bring home. Work.
And let me tell you, it's just so difficult because what's happening now is we've seen in the past 20 years a lack of economic development in our area. There's been no economic development, so you don't have the good paying jobs, and inflation is over here. And I'm not too smart on the true definition of what a recession is. But if there's ever a time where I feel our community has felt the blow, the brunt of recession here locally, I mean we've been suffering for years. And frankly, I just don't see no out in it, and mucho menos with these elected officials that we have.
Yeah, everyone is at it, for their own. They see the money, they see the opportunity, and instead of letting the community, uh, relish in what's theirs, they they take from us. And I've never really thought about them, but it's true. These individuals who get on these boards, they're millionaires. They make good money, and while they may not, be affected by the large increase in electrical rates, us common folks, we are dealing with this, and there's a very serious issue. And for everybody just to stand idle, that's a problem.
What you said, that's why I have two properties in downtown, closest skin realtors se la pasan fregando with calls and texts to get me. Quieren comprar y les pido una buena cantidad, and all of a sudden they stop calling. Se quieren quedar con ellas, pero a dólar. It's true. I get the calls often in the text messages, and I go out there because they go like, "Oh, we want this property." I go like, "Okay, give me $1 million." They said, "Oh, well, it's not worth that." Well, then stop calling me. you know, because it's not worth it to you. It's not that the value that to you, but it may be value to us. And something Jessica mentioned is so true. What happens is you've got individuals that have had their homestead for decades now that are on the verge of losing them. And I'm talking about viejitos, abuelitas, abuelitos, tíos, and tías. And no one, not one single elected official except Eric Garza, has come out to fight the system. Not one. Who's going to fight for those the older folks in our community? Who has talking about the Carlos? Is there info you heard?
They were gonna put it in an email, but they decided not to because they didn't want to create chaos.
More chaos.
Hmm.
Carlos, I need a yard sign too.
Send me
Hombre,
PM me your addresses, please.
I want to know who is monopolizing the new car washes. Well, los car washes, yo siempre digo, son puro lavadero, pero no de carros. Back in our day when Carlos, well, back in the day when Carlos was young, it was a long, long time ago. I used to see all these used car lots everywhere, and people would say, "Es que así lavan el dinero." And then, during Frankie's time back then in the '80s, then in the '90s, you started to see all those taco places come up all over throughout the Brownsville, and people would say, "Hombre, ese lavadero de dinero." Now, in my age, because I'm the youngest one on this panel, at my age, you start to see a lot of car washes, and now people are going el lavadero. It seems like at every generation is they have something out there that can be used to hide a lot of money. Oh, I don't even want to read that comment. If all teachers would vote the right way, everything would change, but they want crap. That's true, Carlos. Teachers, every single employee, well, the employees at BISD have the power to control every single Royce here locally.
Yes,
They
they
don't
do.
go vote. Register to vote, folks. Blue ticket versus orange ticket holder, 100%. The elderly will suffer. And that's my concern. And who's going to speak out for them? Who's going to go champion the system? Even their party, which is something that Eric Garza has done. Uh, he is out there. Uh, one of the things I just got reminded of, um, Chabelo and Little Eddie are out there also parading for Morgan La Mantequilla. I mean, why are they so adamant to keep these individuals that are so linked and connected to the corrupt political machine in power? It's because it's all connected. It's all connected every which way. Inflation is crazy, pero todos go Biden, idiotas. Yeah. Sherry is 150% correct every word. Finally. No, finally he's correct. Erasmo is so old he forgot to clean his backdrop. He's showing his chones. I don't know if that Yaki. Those are actually not mine.
I thought it was a flag or something, man. They're huge.
It's kind of trippy, but yesterday we did the
I just
Valley of the
noticed.
King. I just noticed too. Thanks, Luis. Let me put up my. Let me move this way. But it was so funny because yesterday we did the Valley of the Kings, and let me tell you, we walked like crazy everywhere. It was amazing. I put up some pictures, but afterwards we got to the hotel. They have this beautiful pool. Hombre, pues, we all got into the pool, and these are actually my dentist's calzones. They're not mine. My calzones would be covering like a big old greater space, and it would look like a backdrop because they're big. Thank you, Luis, for pointing that out. I'm sure that my dentist is going to be very happy that you mentioned his underwear. Uh, it's time to get ready and talk about those políticos, 100%. Narco-políticos. Exactly. It's all connected, guys. It's all, and everyone's laughing at my dentist's underwear. What do you think about the Texas Attorney General fleeing from subpoena? Uh, One of the things that is very, very common in a lot of these individuals that know the system very, very well is they can dog the system very, very well and dodge it any which way they can. And look, it was like these are the attorneys. They're not dumb. They know their system, and it's like one of the things that I was kind of upset on with like Marisa Leal when we go out there and go like, "Oh, I got great news. It's coming," and then nothing would happen and oh, now it's finally done. And going like, and I told her, I said, Marisa, you don't know how attorneys work. They're able to skirt, skimmy, and slide through anything that is put up against them. It's only at the greater levels, after many many years, that true the real stuff comes to light. It's not anything. I don't think anything is going to happen with the attorney general out there skirting these things. Ese Luis Rodriguez de que chole. Well, thanks for making that the topic. I'm glad that the our hour is up, though. I hope everyone that's has commenting have already registered to vote. Thank you for sharing that. So Rodriguez said you're in the toilet. Yes, literally and physically and metaphysically. Guys, thanks for coming on. Carlos, any last words?
You just remember November.
Remember in November. Pero esta vez dice que sí se acuerdan.
Que vayan.
Que vayan. Well, guys, thanks for showing up. Frankie, thanks for taking control of the show. And hopefully, maybe y'all could come back on the show tomorrow. I will be in flight tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I will probably not be on tomorrow night. So if y'all could take over and have Maggie help out, Sam help out, anyone, that'd be great. I will be out and about flying back home. Uh, Lord willing, it'll be a safe trip back. Guys, have a great evening. I'll have a great morning. Guys, it's so important, more important now than ever before. You got to fight for your community. And the only way that you could fight for the viejitos, the individuals that are, handicapped, all these folks out there that don't have a voice in the community, the only way you could do that is through your vote in the ballot box and by getting other people to go out and vote. And there is no doubt in my mind. Right now, the candidate for place one at PISD is Carlos Elizondo. So, guys, it's time to vote for change, and this time vote for the right change, not like last time. Guys, uh, stay great, stay focused, be good to each other, and please continue to be good to me. God bless.